this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is Rose Lemonade Herbal Tea by Taylors of Harrogate. I know it kind of spilled a little bit, so you might see some marks. That might seem repetitive because I just was drinking this on another video, but if you've been watching my videos, big deal, right? I mean, if you like something, you like something. This is the summer of lemonade for me, which sounds weird, but I know I've been craving it so much lately, and when I was in Chicago, I was craving it even more. And so because I'm talking about my Chicago book haul, I thought that was a little bit fitting. So yeah, if you've been watching my videos, you would have seen Bonnie's haul. My sister Bonnie is who lives in Chicago currently, and so when I visit her, we go to bookshops together. And we do that actually when she visits me too. I've been trying to tone down my hauls lately. I've actually not shown you some of the books that I've picked up this year, most of which you haven't seen, but still comparatively there's few compared to what I've done the past few years. So I think I'm doing a little better. One of the things I'm trying to do is to just make the room for what I already have and not go crazy, because I have been unhauling a little bit. Maybe I'll do an unhaul video one day, maybe I won't. But I, even though I am, trying to cool it a little bit, I'm also, I also have little exceptions. One, when I'm with my sister, we're not with each other physically that much. So when we get together, we like to go to bookshops together and look around. And that's when I'm in Chicago. When she's in New York, we go to places, we go a little nuts. And if I ever get back to London, which I don't see happening anytime soon, because I am just so broke. But if it ever happens, yes, I will be going to bookshops because that is what I do. So those are the exceptions, and other than that, only occasionally will I hit Book Off or the bookseller or something and have a moment. Yeah. Anyway, enough said about that. However, when I was in Chicago, there was a library sale. I think it was called the Newbury Library. It was a really hot day out, and I'm feeling hot right now. Actually, the AC is not on. It actually probably come back on, but it's not as hot now. But it was at the time stifling, and being indoors in a book sale was just the right thing to do. Honestly, it was the only thing you could really do aside from going swimming or something else outdoors, or a movie. And we did a movie anyway, but that's not the point. So we both had such a great time at this sale. It was just, and the people there were actually pretty polite. I didn't feel like people were trying to run me over just to get to a book that they wanted. Everybody was pretty decent, and it was a peaceful way of looking at books. I enjoyed it. I picked up some of which, some books that I really like, most of which I feel like reading right now, but I'm not reading all of them yet, but we'll get to that. Oh, DC's coming on now, just in time for me to get into the haul. I'm going to start off, it was in the end of July, so now we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, or behind ourselves. And I was very much into Jane Austen July. I didn't bring any Jane Austen books with me, although I probably had one on my e-reader, but I was so good because I only brought 2 physical books with me on the entire trip. Comparatively, that's amazing. Because before that, the previous trip, I brought a lot more. So this was like, I didn't feel bad about picking up books. I had room in my luggage. I had room. And I was sitting near a man who was reading a book about Elizabeth I. So I thought, what a perfect time to be bringing back a bunch of books. Mostly Britishy books because, have you met me? So this first book I'm going to show you is a book from a relative, a descendant from Jane Austen's brother James. Yes, I think so. I think it's, yeah. I believe so. And so this is Joan Austen Lee, and she autographed this book, actually. I believe it looks like she autographed this. Right? So this is called Mrs. Goddard, Mistress of a School, Letters from Highbury, Another View of Emma. So not my favorite of all of Jane Austen's books, but this might be interesting anyway. It's got a little mark in here. I want to get that off, but I thought it's not that big of a book, but it's an interesting idea. I think I've heard of this writer before, but not as much. I don't know as much as you would think I would know, having read a lot of Jane Austen and about Jane Austen and her family. So I'm willing to give that a shot. And now let's get into the Trollopes, because if you haven't met me before, you won't know this, but I love Anthony Trollope, just like I love Jane Austen, and I own a lot of Trollopes. If you were to go over here, you'd probably see a few of them, and actually I can't really see it. No, because it's, sorry, to turn my back on you. It's down below. I do have a good amount of Trollope books. I've read quite a good amount of Trollope books. I have a kind of a goal that I probably won't make, which is to finish all of his novels, or at least most of his novels. There are 47 in total. Out of them, at least 44 of them, allowing for a few to DNF if they're not good. I'd like to finish them before I'm 50. I don't want to say exactly how long it's going to take, but it probably won't happen. But I could at least try. I could at least get close. In the meantime, it's good to get a hold of these said books, and I have them in different versions, different what do you call this? Different jackets, different publishers, different etceteras, and I feel like I'm missing one book. Oh, because it's over here. I moved it. All right, let's get started. Yes, I wish I could just match them all up, but it's never going to happen. So the first one is, I believe, 2 books in one. I think they must be novellas. Because, well, I mean, I don't know. I think probably novella-ish, or at least very short novels. Either way, they're 2 books about women, or titled of women's names. Nina Balaka and Linda Tressel. There it is. There it is. It's one of the world's classics of this nature, with this kind of, you could see it, that I have those in the background, but these are these kind of yellowish with the little blue tops. I don't know why. I'm going to look over there again and see if all the Trollopes are that color, and they're not. So now I want to know what the deal is with the colors. Why are they the way they are? Because it's not like they're not novels. The cover art is The Dressmaker by Joseph Manes, the National Gallery of Prague. Interesting. So yes, this is an Oxford University Press book. Yeah, so I don't really know much about this. One of the well, it's okay. It says each studies religious rigidity. Catholic Nina loves a Jew. Linda's stern Calvinist aunt tries to ensure her salvation by marrying her to an old man and so crushing her spirit. Doesn't sound exactly like his most cheerful books, but I do like the fact that he tried different things, and they're still worth a shot, even if this woman is basically not looking extremely happy in here. So yes, that is my first Trollope here. And then I have another World's Classics that's a slightly different. I have the Orley Farm in this particular type of style. But this is Anthony Trollope, The Kellys and the O'Kellys. It's, sounds like so many of his other books. There's always like O'Kellys and Mackenzies. I mean, like, there's certain names that just seem to repeat themselves almost, or deja vu-ish. So this one talks about, let's see, a humor story about 2 marriages and the part played in both by money. Martin Kelly and Lord Baladine were anxious to get married, and both with the same somewhat mercenary view. Anyway, which sounds very Trollope-y. And let's see, the cover art here is The Four Courts by James Hore, H-O-R-E, 1837. So there it is. There it is. It's apparently, in a Dublin museum, so kind of, I think it's a bit Ireland related. Anthony Trollope did spend some time in Ireland, so we'll see. Yeah. So yeah, he got around a little bit, so he has a bit of knowledge. I haven't read any of his Irish books yet, and I don't think so. That should be, I hope, interesting. These are good. All these books except for one that I've heard of more. Well, these are a little more obscure than his. I already have in my possession all of the Barsetshire novels and all of the Palliser novels. So, and all of the famous standalones. So now I'm in the, wait, have I heard of this one before? It's like, was that made up? But this one I've heard of before. I guess I just didn't have a copy of it. But I have had a lot of these orange, like penguin with his picture on the front. So this is Marion Fay by Mr. Anthony Trollope. I have a number of these, and they have numbers. I think these are in order of when they were published. And so this is 48. I think he only published 47 novels, but he might have had other books. So this is, oh gosh, this is one of Trollope's most cynical novels. I feel like I'm in that mode right now. A lot of these books are a little more, oh look, Lord Hampstead and his sister Frances both intend to marry beneath their rank. Oh well. Frances is betrothed to a post office clerk. Well, just like Anthony Trollope. George wrote in, and her brother has fallen in love with marrying a Quaker. So we got more religion in here. So this was published 6 months before the author's death, so I figured it was one of his latest novels. Maybe he was feeling kind of cynical. Who knows? I don't know. I am curious about it. I'm a little not dreading it, but I'm a little curious because it looks like one of his bigger books. I'm like, if it's that not as fun, will it be hard to get through? But then it doesn't seem in page form. Actually, it's less than 300 pages. I am wholly confused because it looks. Oh wait. Oh, because it starts. It has a book 1 and book 2. This style of book, even though I kind of like it because it feels kind of nice in one's hand, it does this thing where it has a book 1 and 2, and then it starts with page 1 again. So you think, oh, and then you think, oh. Anyway, I sound like I'm not enjoying the prospect of reading these Trollope novels, but I actually am. It's just that I have to know what kind of mood to be in to read each one of them. Anyway, so moving on to the last but not least, this is the one that I've heard the most of, and I saw this book in Book Off one time and wanted to pick it up, and for some reason I didn't, and of course it wasn't there afterwards. I think it was like round about the pandemic, then things were closed. And this edition, because there were 2 books of this edition, actually a number of books of this edition, but this is the only one I picked of it because it's not my favorite editions, the Dovers. I don't hate them, but I don't particularly like them. So this wasn't, but I've been looking for this book. It was only $3, so I figured, okay. The American Senator! Da, da, da. And, let me see. Anyway, this is about the American Senator. I'm not going to get into what it's about. I'll let you know when I actually read it, because I think we spent enough time with Mr. Trollope. But they do have like a couple other books in here that they say that are available. One is Kept in the Dark. I don't think I have that one, although I've heard of it, but it still sounds made up. But anyway, sometimes, they get into a fox hunt in here too. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's my least favorite thing about Trollope novels is the fox hunts, but I mean, I like Downton Abbey too, and I'm not big into the hunting, so whatever. Sometimes when I hear, I gotta finish a sentence before I keep starting one. Sometimes with Trollope, much as I love him, I get a little bored with the political stuff. I'm really not into politics. I'm not saying I can't watch anything with politics or, the House of Parliament or whatever, but it's the part that I have to train myself to be as interested in when it comes to Trollope. He still does an amazing job of it, so it's usually worth it. But I don't know how I feel about this one. But I still have wanted to get a hand on it for a while, so I have it now. And yet more things I could pick for Victober. Goodness. And I'm not complaining about that. All right, and the last fiction I picked up at this this library sale was one that I've heard of these books. My sister read a couple of them, and so she was on hand, I could ask her about it. This is not the first in the series, but when it comes to mystery series, at times I just have found I'm just jumping in the middle of it now. I don't know why. I feel like I could just do that. And I'm not the hugest fan of pink, but every once in a while there will be a pink colored something that gets me in the mood to eat cake or something, or watch the Barbie movie, which I did. And it was enjoyable. But anyway, but this just looks so cute, and and it was just in great shape. So, The Tale of Castle Cottage by Susan Wittig Albert. This is one of the Beatrix Potter, like her animals, the cottage tales of Beatrix Potter. I think they're animals hang out and talk to each other, and there's mysteries that get solved, I think by Beatrix Potter. I'm not exactly sure. The cottage tales. But anyway, it just sounds so cute, and look at that picture, little picnic with the little creatures. It looks so cute. Okay, I stopped with his voice. But it's just, I feel like I could be in the mood for that. Even the names of all the rest of them. The Tale of Oatcake Crag, The Tale of Applebeck Orchard, Briar Bank, Hawthorne House, Cuckoo Brow Woo, Hilltop Farm, and Holly Howe. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I'll get into these as a new series I'll be interested in, I hope. It's one of those moments I wish I could talk to Janelle. Uh, Still sad about that. Anyway, so let me move on to the nonfiction. I think I got these all the right categories. We'll find out. The nonfiction books I picked up at this library sale. And as you probably can tell if you've been watching recent videos, I'm still in a Richard III kick. I don't know what's going on with me. I just find that whole thing fascinating. It kind of is up there with Tudors as far as competing for my attention. They're always going to be at each other. The last Plantagenets and the Tudors, right? But this one is a slightly older book, not ancient, but an older book. It is, I'm trying to see where the copyright is, 1983. Yeah, 1983. So it's been a while, but I like the fact that people have been writing about this subject for quite some time. This is by Jeremy Potter, and it's called Good King Richard? It's got a question mark, so I got it. Good King Richard? An account of Richard III and his reputation. So, just so. Searching for the man behind the portraits. It's just another voice in the argument. So, while I'm reading my Richard III books, this will be one of them. And this is just a book that I found called A Book of England. It just has a bunch of different works about England. I have something like that about London already. And, anyway, this is what it looks like. It's a bit of an older book. I love that too. And the pages, it's got a little mark on it too, like someone put something on it, like something wet or whatever, and just made a little mark. But it's hard to see. This end papers, kind of interesting, right? Almost like Tudorish, almost, right? The pages are kind of creamy, almost. So it feels nice. Helene Hamp would probably be proud of me. She was like books that were a joy to the touch. And is this the book? Yes, this is the book that also has a cutout in there that someone must have put around the time. I'm still gonna investigate exactly when this was. Oh, I ripped it. I ripped it again. Hold on. Okay, enough damage done. Anyway, it's got Jackie Mason in here, who's no longer alive, but he was in my time period. So, I'm trying to see. This has got to be a while ago because, anyway, I believe it's a New York. Am I correct about this? Yeah, I believe it's a New York kind of newspaper. It was in Chicago, and it had an article that I ripped, obviously, but I can always put it back together again, which says "What's Doing in London," which I think is just fun, you know. My goodness, it smells of old book. I'm really trying to figure out when this was, though, because it has the phone numbers written out, some of them, that, like it says 212, but it says LO5-3760. That kind of listing was usually before my time, but I don't think incredibly before my time, but, I don't know. Anyway, I just find this so fascinating. I really wish there was a date on here that I could draw from, but I don't see any. Sorry, I'm going off on this one book. It's fascinating, you know, when you see things like this. Anyway, I will find out perhaps one day. I don't know. Maybe I'll update this at some point. Anyway, need to move on from this particular book, but that was kind of what drove me to get this book, even though obviously I like reading every book that I could find about England. But still. All right. Speaking of that area, I also found this book by Lisa Picard, Dr. Johnson's London. I already have a book, Pepys London. I have Dickens London, so I don't have Catherine's London. Where's Catherine's London? Maybe I should write that. Catherine's London. Anyway, so this book actually is not, let me see when this came out. Goodness. 2000. So it was a bit of a while ago, but for me, it still seems kind of recent. I do love this particular type of book. This is a very, I'm not sure you probably can get books like this in the United States new, but I feel like this particular feeling, this particular size is very English and British. So I will enjoy that. I'll pretend that I bought it in London. Pathetic, I know. And getting, again, still in this mode, I also got, last but not least, The Blood Sisters, The Women Behind the Wars of the Roses by Sarah Griswold. And which is just about that. It's the family, the women reveals how women helped to end the Wars of the Roses, paving the way for the Tudor Age and the creation of modern England, which is true. It's true, very much so. The Woodvilles, the Beauforts, all these people, Nevilles, etc. They were all involved in the gradual end of the Plantagenets and the beginning of the Tudors. So, again, I told you I'm very much into that Richard III time period, the Wars of the Roses, and then of course the early Tudors and then later Tudors, etc. So this is very much up my alley. I said that already, up my alley, didn't I? So that's all from the library sale, and I didn't get many other books besides, because we went to a number of bookstores, but sorry to turn my back on you. I had a report while I was away that my cat was sick, and, we're not sick, but that he wasn't eating, which was nerve-wracking because, again, a few days after I returned and he was still eating, and then he stopped eating, had to take him to the vet, had to spend much too much money. So, there's been a lot of distractions that I didn't get to really enjoy, as much of my book search at that point, because this was like a day after we went to that library sale. So it's okay, because it's not like, oh my goodness, I didn't get to buy books. I totally did. And I totally didn't need to either way. But I think that was an unwelcome distraction for me. So the rest of what's left is not a lot, and that's perfectly okay, for me anyway. Oh, yeah. This one actually, some of these actually I didn't buy. This one just got a little schmutz on the side. I'm going to try to get rid of. Is The Light Years by Elizabeth Jane Howard, Volume 1 of the Cazalet Chronicle. If you watched Bonnie's video, you would see that she got a whole set of these books from the library sale. And she had just purchased this one beforehand, so she gave it to me. So maybe I'll start it. Maybe I'll get into another series. Who knows? At one point we went to, now I'm trying to remember if this is the right name, the Open Book store. I think the bookmark might be in here so I can tell you for sure. It's Open Books, Logan Square. So that's pretty great. We walked around the area a little bit and it was nice, and then we looked at books. And I only got one book there, but that's okay because it was enough. And The Story of the Country House, A History of Places and People by Clive Aslett. Again, English much? I just enjoy that whole concept, the whole country house thing. Not that I deserve to be rich, but had I ever been wealthy, or were I currently wealthy and living in England, I would have a country house and a townhouse in London. But I'm not, so I have an apartment that I can live in. Gotta be grateful for these things, but I like to read about it. Anyway, and I also went to Ravenswood Used Books, and this time their offerings were just okay. So, and a lot of books that I already had. But I just settled, but it just looked like an interesting book by Barbara Pym, An Academic Question. I've enjoyed Barbara Pym's books before, every single one of them, although some of them are depressing, but that's okay. This is about, it is 1970, and there's student unrest throughout England. In a small university in the West Country, Caroline Grimstone, the wife of an ambitious young, okay, now I don't have to scream, ethno-historian, is also uneasy. Is she an adequate mother? How can she enter more fully into her husband's work? Alas, the only thing that she could do to further her husband's career lies heavily upon her conscience. Oh dear, I hope it's not what I think it's going to be. But anyway, it just sounds kind of interesting. I like the picture a little bit. It looks like a fountain pen and some books. I could make my own version of this. But anyway, so last but not least, these are two books I did not pay for. The very last evening, Bonnie and I also do this thing where we look at pretty much every little free library that we can pass by if it's feasible. And I try not to go crazy grabbing everything because a lot of times it's nonsensical. But these two books looked interesting enough to grab, and I knew I had just enough room to get this home. This is a book of essays called She's Nice Though, Essays on Being Bad at Being Good. I don't know, I just like the picture of the cake in the front. And it's a very cheerful yellow. So I don't know, it might be good. If not, I will put it in a little free library around here because pay it forward or something. And this is a book I did take out of the library once and didn't get a chance to read. Back in the days when things were overdue and you couldn't renew them without a fine. So when I saw it, I said, hey, I like the man called Ova. Ove, Uva. I always forget how you say that name. But I haven't read any other books by him since Frederick Backman. So Anxious People. Is that about me? Anxious people? Maybe. Anyway, so I just thought, well, like I said, why not? That should be that, and whatever should be my mottos. Why not? Whatever. So that is everything. That is all I brought back from Chicago. I feel like actually I forgot one, but it doesn't matter because that's probably enough. And let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you've been to this particular library sale. I know someone commented on Bonnie's video that they had been to it the next day, I think, which was funny because, could have run into each other. And let me know what you think of these books. If you want to read any of these books, if you've been to a library sale yourself recently, and did you find anything that was a particular treasure? If you like talking about these kind of books that you just saw me speaking of and rambling about, please subscribe, please like, do all the things. Thank you. And for now, I will leave you. This is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book-filled day. Bye.